Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the Coming of Cage podcast, your Nicolas Cage movie review podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and the other host, Ryan, is right here.
That's right. And we are ready to talk about another very mid Nick Cage thriller.
So mid.
Yeah.
To,
Episode 69 we're on now, and I think we've probably done about 15 of these, maybe more of these just like really, really average thrillers from
yeah,
mostly seemingly from 2000 to like 2012.
give or take. Yeah, it's a fair range, I think, with only a couple of exceptions in there,
Yeah.
But this is 2011, so towards the end of that,
This thing,
Trespass.
yes, Trespass. And I think wasn't that around the time period where he was like really trying to pay off his debts, and so he was doing maybe more movies than he would have necessarily wanted to.
I don't know exactly when he was done with that, so I don't know for sure, but it was
It seems like based on
relatively.
movie quality, it was around that era that he was probably taking most roles.
The thing is, though, that like I mean, Nicole Kidman is in this,
I mean, that's true. I feel like they spent a lot of money on her. And I mean, they
right?
probably spent a good amount on Nick too, but
And I mean, he was doing a lot of movies at the time. Like, don't get me wrong. So like, this was 2011. In 2011, he also released Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, Seeking Justice, Drive Angry, and Season of the Witch.
yeah, which we've seen most of those.
Most of those. I mean, that was his 2011,
Right, 1 year.
right?
That's what I'm saying. I think this is one of the when he was still trying to catch up on his legal obligations, maybe a bit.
It's certainly possible.
The quality started going up not long after this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the year before 2010, he did The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which you and I both enjoy, but is certainly not like an
It's more of a
Oscar.
mid. Yeah,
Yeah. But he did do Kick Ass that year too.
it was definitely a standout. I mean, he had
Yeah.
some standouts in there. I'm not gonna, make it seem like he didn't.
Yeah.
Kick-Ass is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time.
Well, that's why I wanted to
100%.
call it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I know that.
it
Yeah.
makes me feel really old that was that long ago, but
Yeah, man. 15
and it makes
years.
me sad that we haven't gotten to that one yet because I'm
I'm
really
hoping
looking
we get
forward to
to it.
rewatching that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thought you might appreciate this. So I've been slowly building my physical Nicolas Cage movie collection, and I now own on DVD. This doesn't and Blu-ray. This doesn't count VHS or Laserdisc. I own 46 Nicolas Cage movies now.
What's your goal?
I don't really have a goal. It's more of just like if I go to like the thrift store or half price books or something, and I'll go and look and see if they have any that I don't have. And I have a rule about used movies. They have to be $6 or less if it's a DVD.
Okay.
Um,
So you've acquired all those 40 some movies for $6 or less each.
no, there's some
Oh,
notable exceptions like Pig. For example, I paid, Blu-ray full price for Pig. There's a few other ones over there that I paid like full new price for. Dream Scenarios over there, but
right.
but some of these older ones, I do have a couple collections. So I know people who are listening can't see this, but I have a couple Nicolas Cage collections. This is a 4 film collection that Trespass was on, along with Stolen, The Humanity Bureau, and Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Oh,
$6. So
nice.
yeah, yeah, totally worth it for $6.
Definitely.
But yeah, so let's talk Trespass. Nicole Kidman, Nicolas Cage. This movie is about, quote, as they're held for ransom, a husband and wife's predicament grows more dire amid the discovery of betrayal and deception.
I mean, that is kind of accurate.
I guess.
Yeah. So if you've never listened to this podcast before and you're just decided to watch this or watch or listen to this Trespass episode for whatever reason for your first episode, what we'll usually do is that I'll take notes throughout the movie. We'll go through those notes. Derek will try and help me decipher whatever I meant by those notes if I can read my own handwriting. Depending on how boring the movie is, my handwriting gets worse and worse. Uh,
As you fall asleep.
well, depending on the movie, that's only happened once so far, but it's been pretty close on a couple others. Um, so yeah, so I think the best place to start is at the beginning.
Let's do it.
Um, right away off of our bingo card, We get a helicopter establishing shot. Boom, right
Woo!
away.
Yeah.
Classic. That's
Classic.
a staple of this era of Nick Cage movies.
Hmm. Very, very popular.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I guess it's all drone shots, but back then it was helicopters.
Helicopters. Yeah, drones have replaced that a little bit, but whatever. And then we get our first bit of straight out advertising in this movie. Did you notice how much advertising was in this movie?
I'm so bad at that. I don't like
I'm
I kind of
usually
ignore
bad at
that.
it too, but in this movie, we caught a bunch of it.
Really? What was
Yeah.
it?
So right away, you see Nick driving this car from the helicopter, and the camera pans up to the Porsche Carrera badge on the back
That's
of the car
true.
and just kind of lingers there for like a few seconds. And some may say that this was all these these kind of advertisements or whatever were just to establish that he was rich. And you could say that, but there's a lot of ways to do that without just showing brands. So
Yeah. The Porsche is like almost its own character in this movie.
yeah, it is, and we'll keep touching back to the Porsche. Don't worry. Um, so he's driving and he's having a business phone call. We don't really know what's going on at this point with it, but he seems to be kind of a skeezy salesman kind of guy, trying to just like negotiate on the road while he's driving his Porsche. Um, and it in the next scene we see Nicole Kidman with presumably their daughter. We do find out that it is their daughter at a future point. At this point, we're just kind
Right.
of assuming. She wants to go to a party,
Hmm.
and the mom says no. Nicole Kidman is the mom, and she says no. You can't go to this party because there's bad influences there.
That's right.
So Nick is walking up from through the backyard, I think, for some reason, because everybody just kind of enters through the backyard in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is just that like maybe the driveway is around the back or something for aesthetic purposes. Because like
Maybe.
it's a massive, like this is like a
Yeah.
compound mansion
They make
kind
sure
of
to
thing.
show you that this is a huge house with like walls and it's like ocean front and they have a
Hmm.
giant pool. But yeah, on his way into the house, he sees some burned cigarettes and a gold lighter
Hmm.
on a stoop, and he picks that lighter up and looks at it kind of like confused and puts it in his pocket. Um, and so the mom Nicole Kidman is like, why don't you ask your dad? And she starts talking to the dad and to Nick, and she asks about the party, and mom again says no. And so the dad is Nick is like, I've got to go with your mom.
Hmm.
And no matter how mid I say this movie is, I thought Nicole Kidman did a really good job, and Nick did a really good job. As we always say, Nick always gave his all in all these movies. But he did play this character really well. It's kind of a weird one for him because it's not really very cagey. There's a few moments, but almost any actor probably could have done an adequate job with this.
Well, because it's not an action hero role. He's
No,
not like, some type of like he's not a criminal or anything like that. So it's not like he's got guns hidden all over the place and he's, an assassin or something. And that's the thing, like with a lot of these movies that we call mid, like the performances are usually fine. It's
some of
this
them anyway.
you yeah, but like the stories are the problem in most
Yeah,
in most of these cases. And so yeah, I thought Nick and Nicole Kidman were fine. They were
yeah, and I
totally
think this
fine.
is the only movie that they've done together, right? Is
It is.
And I haven't seen a lot of Nicole Kidman movies in my life, a few, but she's always pretty good. So I'm glad that she was good in this too. Although her character was very weird, I'm not sure if we'll talk about that as the show goes on, but there was a lot of stuff where I wasn't really sure, where they were going with this. And maybe it was intended. I don't think it was, but
I mean, the whole
anyway,
plot of the movie seems like they were just trying to throw off the viewer.
yeah, but not in like clever ways or
No.
anything. So Nick goes to his office
Hmm.
where he's got some stuff that he's clearly like anxious about his wife finding out about because she's dresses up in this really nice black dress hoping to go out that night, and he's like, no, I got to go make this sale or whatever. And right before this, there's the camera pans up to his Apple computer, with the giant Apple logo on the back. I didn't catch that one.
No, I did
um
not.
but my partner that we were watching was watching the movie with me caught it and called it out. So kudos there. Um, but he has this insane, absolutely insane wall safe. I
Yeah.
mean, if you think of like the craziest bank safe you've seen in a movie, imagine that, but just like 2 feet by or 2 or 3 feet by 2 or 3 feet in the
Mm.
wall. I mean, it's like a foot thick metal and biometric and a numpad on it. I mean,
Hmm.
and it has the little spinny thing like the bank ones have.
It's behind a framed picture that moves to
Yeah,
the side.
nobody would ever guess it's back there, like come on.
Well,
Anybody who puts a framed picture behind their desk has a safe hidden back there 100%.
but that the movie calls that out though, and he says, "Well, it's aesthetic. You're not hiding it. It's just making it look nice, so I don't have a giant safe in my wall."
Right. But I mean the safe is pretty cool looking,
If that's what you're going for.
if you're going well, if you're a diamond dealer, which we find out he is, um, you know, that might be what you're going for. You want people to know you're secure. Although he has the worst security in the world.
Oh my God, so bad.
Even though mom and dad both said no, and this is a totally unpredictable major plot twist, the daughter still goes to the party. Who could have seen that coming? I don't know. You'd have to be a genius to see that coming, but it happens.
It does. It does. I found it
And
weird. Tell me if you think this part was weird. It's weird to me that she can lock and unlock her bedroom door using a key from the hallway.
that's a little weird, yeah. And also their security system just like letting you disarm sectors, but then not rearming them, having any way of rearming them, and nobody noticing that there's like one sector that's completely disarmed, or like there's no
Well,
alert to anybody or anything like
so
that.
that was a bypass. I can tell you that that is okay. That part's fine because it's supposed to be like an exit bypass. I use that on my own system a
I
lot.
guess, but how do their parents not have it set like for to alert them if somebody uses that bypass?
I think the
You know,
idea is supposed to show they trust their daughter, right? And they're not anticipating.
but there's no reason to trust her based on everything that happens in this movie. I don't know why they would ever trust her.
Well, Ryan, it's they just
I
do
know,
it,
I'm right.
We
Um,
don't know enough about them. We're just thrown into this all happens in one evening. So,
yeah. And she sneaks out and she meets her friend with a brand new red BMW available at your local dealer, convertible, which they immediately almost wreck
uh-huh.
because that's what young girls do, I guess. I don't know. It was just that was whole thing was kind of weird. I know it's meant to like foreshadow later what's going to
That's all
happen,
it's
but
for.
but they
Just
didn't
like the
need to
lighter.
foreshadow that. The whole thing is just stupid.
No, I know,
Um,
but it was all that same like Chekhov's gun kind of nonsense. You show the lighter so you can use it later. You show Dead Man's Curve so you can use it later.
Right.
It's
But
all
it wasn't
very
even
like
that's the funny thing is it wasn't even a dead man's
no, no.
curve. It's just like don't pay attention here and die curve. Like and you don't even die apparently. We'll talk about that later, but um so yeah, some guys show up in cop uniforms,
Oh God.
but this very secure facility with concrete walls and everything and a locked gate and everything else, well the camera on it will only show you from the neck down for
I mean,
people.
it was so like everything is so telegraphed in this part about how these are clearly not security
Cops.
people. And what bothers me about this is that Nick's character is supposedly an intelligent guy, right? He's shown throughout the rest of the movie being very witty and quick on his feet and good under pressure. And he's just a total doofus in this one scene.
Yeah. So yeah, all he can see from from of these people, these police officers, is their like chest and stomach, which has a uniform. So instantly he fully trusts them because he couldn't afford a camera that shows anything above the neck or below the waist. And now maybe an argument could be made that it's supposed to show like a driver when the car comes up there. I could see that, but still, that seems like a gross oversight because not everybody's going to be in a car.
Well, and I think there's ways around it too, though, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry, do you mind, showing your face to the camera? Just want to be safe, kind
Right.
of thing, right? And if it is a police officer, they're going to be like, yeah, sure,
Or
and
show
do
me your
that.
badge or show me
Something,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right? And these people, because they're already wearing their ski masks or whatever,
Yeah. They
so
wear
like,
it just driving around the city, for fun.
well, it was
Um,
chilly. It was chilly.
right, right, right. So yeah, he's like, we need to discuss some things with you. If we could just come in, there's been robberies around the, or he's advertising exactly what they're trying to do,
It's so
but
bad.
he believes them. They just wants to talk about burglaries in the area, so Nick lets him in immediately. And then they immediately bust in with shotguns and pistols and other things and weird. I want to call them ski masks, but they weren't really. I don't know what they were. They were like
No.
stockings, kind of, but like,
Well, on Mendelsohn's character anyway, the security boy guy, his was different. But yeah, either way, like it did seem like a very ragtag setup here.
which is
Um,
weird because it wasn't really ragtag. I mean, they had, you know, firearms that were not, they weren't like shown to be
well,
cheap or anything. I mean, it was,
no, but they're drug dealers is really
yeah,
what it is. They're not like thieves and home invaders. Right, is I think kind of the point. It's like, yeah, I mean they do crime, but like they're just selling drugs to people that want drugs. They're not breaking into people's houses and like killing people. I think is what we're supposed to take away from that. I don't know.
right. Yeah, I don't know either, but so they try and take over the house, and they're looking for the daughter, and the parents still think the daughter is up in her room, but she's not. Um, but they start ripping phones out of the wall, except for one. Anything that could be used to communicate with the outside, they smashed. And then it cuts to the daughter who is at this other party, and instantly the biggest douchebag in the party goes up to her and is like, "I want to bone you in my bedroom. Let's go over here." And so he takes her to this bedroom, and then he opens the safe. This will never come back. So
This will
don't,
never come back.
it's not important. But he opens the safe with what he says is $100,000 and drugs in it.
Yeah.
And he
Mhm.
instantly starts using the drugs and offering her some.
It was pretty funny though, because she's like, I need a place to throw up, and I gotta go throw up. He's like, I got a bathroom. He's like
Desperate
totally
teenagers,
clueless
man.
moron.
Desperate teenagers.
Well, so here's where things are like really bad in all of this, right? So it is made extremely clear that she is underage.
Yeah.
Right? Because her friend Kendra, says act, pretend you're legal or act legal or whatever. It's like it's immediately very problematic from
Oh,
the
yeah.
get-go. She's uncomfortable from like the minute they get to this place, right? So like the whole time you're just like, well, I hope she puts up with it long enough to avoid what's going on at her parents' house, right? But it's bad. It's all bad.
Yeah. And she doesn't. She goes to the party, and 5 minutes after the party starts, she's gone. She leaves.
Hmm.
But yeah, I put casual drug use. That's not really on our casual underage drug use, but that's not on our bingo card unless Nick is doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so this one again was pointed out by my girlfriend who watched the movie with me. But the woman robber,
Hmm.
for some reason, to this robbery, decided to wear high heel boots. Did you notice that?
Um, I noticed she was not dressed like everybody else. I noticed it was very odd, and it like I was like, at some point that's going to be explained, right? Like what her
No.
deal is.
She, even though she knew they were doing a home invasion and we're probably going to be running or doing things that might require some athletic prowess, she decided to wear high-heeled boots because that booty got to look good during the robbery, apparently.
Well, look, to offset that, supposedly Nicole Kidman is barefoot the entire film.
Well, that's probably
So
why this is Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie.
I think it's because she's tall and they needed her to not look so tall.
That's certainly possible. Um, so then we get our second Porsche mention of the movie,
Hmm.
which is, I think, one of the robbers says something like he's got a Porsche in the garage or something like that.
Well, because
Um,
they can't find the money, and they can't, they're trying to figure out where the money is or whatever, right? And she's like, well, let's just steal stuff. They've got a Porsche, we can sell the Porsche or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
in like most movies, they would probably just say he's got expensive cars in the garage, but they name drop because he
the
doesn't just
Porsche,
have the Porsche in the garage. He has other cars too in there,
sure,
but they name drop the Porsche, and that's only two of several that
yeah.
they have throughout this movie. So then they go into the office where he has a safe and everything, and they're telling him to open the safe, and he's refusing to open the safe. And eventually they're like going to kill his wife, or they make it seem like they're going to.
Hmm.
And he tells them that even if they steal the diamonds, they won't be able to do anything with them because diamonds have registration numbers, and they will instantly be able to trace back the diamonds to him and know that they were the stolen diamonds. And somehow they didn't have any clue about this because in all their research that they did preparing for this, which is shown later that they had like tailed these people for days, and multiple people had tailed multiple people in the house. So they were in the house, bypassing the security systems and like getting into the security systems and stuff like that. I mean, they were pretty thorough about their preparation for a lot of this, but they didn't think to do that.
Well, because again, like, these are not thieves. That's not really what they are, and they're doing this. We learn later, right, out of desperation. It's to save their own asses. So I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I think they just they're like, well, we'll steal some diamonds, diamond heist. Right? How many movies have you watched about diamond heist? Have they ever brought up the
no,
recutting and registration numbers and all that stuff? I'm like, no, I don't even know if it's true.
I think it is.
I have no idea. I
Because
have
I've
no idea.
heard that that they do track diamonds specific ways. But I do want to bring up some a couple bits of attention to detail that are kind of like that. Because we don't just want to trash on movies all the time. If there's things that a movie does well, I want to highlight that too because I have a lot of respect for people that put the extra effort in. I wish they did it through the whole movie. But one of the things that this movie does, and I'm sure you notice this when I bring it up, that a lot of other like heist and robbery movies haven't done, is that all of the robbers have electrical tape wrapped around the tips of their fingers
Yeah.
to hide their fingerprints,
Hmm.
which is something that I don't know if I've ever seen that in a movie. And maybe it's not realistic. I know electrical tape only really sticks to itself, so it might not be the best use of that. And most people would just wear gloves. But I thought that was a really interesting way of handling that problem, that they had thought it out that far. But that's why it makes it even hard. And the red diamond registration thing is something that again other movies wouldn't have brought up. Maybe it isn't real. I don't know. But this movie brought up, and I thought that was interesting. But it does highlight the problem that if they did this much prep,
Hmm.
because they're not robbers, but they think to block their fingerprints with electrical tape, so they still have use of their fingers, but they are blocking. Like so that stuff shows a certain level of preparation that should have, I think, that should have set a bar basically. And the diamond registration thing, it made that harder to buy that they wouldn't have at least you know, done a little bit of research on like fencing diamonds or selling diamonds. If you're a thief,
Yeah.
you have to have a way to get rid of the diamonds too. If they're stolen, you can't just like go to your local jewelry store and sell them.
Well, I think there's a couple of pieces to this. So first off, I think attention to detail is pretty good in this. You know, that like maybe some of it's a little too heavy-handed in some places, but they do try very hard to plant certain seeds that come back later and stage things in such a way where the story does play out the way that it does for better or worse. And there are a lot of really good details in here, you know, going around and pulling different phones and you know the way the house is, you know, they're searching through the house trying to find the girl later and different things like that. They do a pretty good job, you know, putting the watch in the jacket pocket with an alarm on, so you know she'll be easier to find later. Like there's a lot of little tiny details, and I think that helped kind of maybe distract from some of the weakness in the general story, which was
Yeah,
good. But I mean, I think because of why these guys are in trouble, right? Not to jump ahead, right? But the idea is that they need to basically get back whatever it was, 180 grand in cocaine or whatever. So I think their thought is, well, I'm just going to hand over these diamonds and it won't really be my problem, right? And that'll be the end of it. But I don't know because if what Nicolas Cage's character says is true, if we just take that on face value, because he does lie a lot in the movie, but if we assume
right.
that that part is true, then you would hope that you know would have come up in their preparation. So I don't
You
know.
would have
It's
thought.
it's a little weird. I don't want to get like super hung up on that piece, but it's a little problematic.
It stretches my, beliefs a little bit and
Yeah.
all this stuff. We should also mention that Joel Schumacher directed this, which is Interesting.
It's
I
his
can't remember
last
when he
movie.
died. I was gonna say it had to be one of his last movies for sure.
Well, I mean, he died in 2020, so it wasn't, so there was a good gap here, but this was the last film that he directed. He did direct, I think it was a music video and a few episodes of House of Cards after this, the Netflix series. But this was
Gotcha.
his last movie, and it was his second film with Nicole Kidman, right? Because she's in Batman.
Right.
And yeah, but that's kind of an interesting. It didn't feel like Joel Schumacher, but
No, nothing about it really felt like Joel Schumacher, except for the scene where the robber guy is getting out of the pool. That kind of felt
like
like Joel.
four different times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair.
Um, so we get this really weird 5 second shot of the woman robber who's off doing her own thing, like smoking meth.
She's nuts, man.
I don't
Like,
really get her point in the whole movie. And we'll come back to it
well,
more, but well, I mean,
she's romantically involved with Mendelsohn's character, Elias. So they're like an item, right? And basically the real bad guys have threatened to kill her if Elias doesn't get their money and or drugs back.
sure, but you don't need her on screen to do that. You know what I mean?
I I
I don't
don't
think she really added anything to the movie,
no, I mean I agree with that. I mean, she creates a situation where there's like another body around to do stuff and create some
but she's
additional
just off
chaos,
doing her
but
own thing most of the time.
for most of the time, and I think what she's doing doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Some of it does, right? So we find out it's kind of a throwaway line in like the third act, but we find out that she does have a child who was taken away from her and put in foster care. And so she's watching like these home videos and stuff of the Miller family, the house, the people who live there. And you're like, what is she doing watching like home videos and like, the girl's like a baby in these videos and stuff like that. And so she's clearly she's got some issues, right? She has
Yeah.
substance abuse problems and some other things, and she's like wearing Nicole Kidman's clothes, and she's walking around like in her underwear at a couple of points and stuff like that. Like she's clearly unstable.
Yeah. Which
Like
seems like a good reason to not bring her.
I agree, but I mean the whole thing doesn't really work though, because at the end of the day, Jonah, the security guy, shouldn't have been there either.
Right.
Right? It really should have just been Elias and what was the other guy's name? Ty, I think. And that should have been it. And if it had been the two of them, the whole thing probably would have gone a lot smoother.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
but instead, it's just insane.
Yeah. So while they're in this room talking about the bank registration or the diamond registration and everything, Nicole Kidman's character looks over at this one of the robbers who's not wearing a full face mask because this scene wouldn't work
Right.
if he was. It's just like a lower half of like covering his nose and mouth, like a reverse Batman.
What do they call them?
Um,
Like gators or something, I think.
sure, something like that. And she recognizes his eyes and nose, and the way she's looking at him, instantly you're like, they fucked. Or something. I mean, they did something because she clearly knows him, and that look is not something you give somebody generally that you're not interested in
It just
on some level.
goes on for too long. Like, because she looks deranged, but it goes on for like 30 seconds. And so you would imagine that somebody's going to notice this and be like, oh, she knows who he is. That's a problem.
Yeah.
But that doesn't come up for like another
No, but
hour.
everybody's like, oh, they know. The brother knows. We
But
find out the security guard guy
but
and the guy that she recognizes are brothers. We find that out.
right. But they don't think Nicole Kidman's character has figured that
Recognized
out.
him. Yeah.
Right. That's the key piece, right? Because if you can keep your anonymity, then maybe you don't have to kill these people,
Right.
So
So yeah, you already kind of touched on this, but my next note was now the meth robber is watching family videos in their underwear.
super weird.
Literally, it was just like they were she was going through like a saved, like, I don't know if it was USB drive or something on the TV that had a bunch of labeled family videos and stuff. So she picks one, and yeah, she's literally just standing in her bra and panties, and the shot has her from the back, like
Hmm.
with the projector in front of her, just standing there. I don't know if like because they weren't having Nicole Kidman in her underwear that they just thought they needed a woman in her underwear at some point
I mean, I
or
guess. I
something.
mean, yeah, earlier in the movie, I thought we were gonna see Nicole Kidman that way because she's like, there's a whole scene about her like pulling like black lingerie out of a bag and taking the tags off and all that stuff. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So this was that, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. It just definitely stood out. Like if they were just trying to establish her as what you were talking about, they didn't need her to be in her underwear for that. It was just a weird choice.
No, but it does push her into like an even like less stable area because like they're supposed to be leaving this house. If things go well, they're supposed to be out in 10 minutes. 20 is like their limit before there starts to be like legitimate problems for them, right? So what is she doing? Right? If we put aside a moment the fact that it's a movie and it's all like contrived, right? What is that character thinking about getting undressed in this house while this is going on?
Yeah.
It's totally nuts.
It was around this point that I figured out that the lighter and cigars were the guy, because it isn't revealed for a little bit that security guy, the guy's brother, it was his lighter and cigarettes.
Oh, it
Because they
was?
thought early on, yeah,
I
they
thought it
thought
was
early
Avery's.
on, no, they thought early on that it was the daughters.
Yeah, Avery.
That's what they imply, but later on, it's revealed that it's the guy in the pool, the security guy brother,
Oh.
that was smoking out there, and those were because it shows him outside at night watching in front of the pool, watching inside while they're inside, and he's smoking, and it shows the gold
Mm,
lighter.
okay.
Um,
I must have blinked.
yeah, you blinked. It was a pretty short scene. Um, One thing, and you told me, and I brought this up on other Nick Cage movies before, and it has nothing to do with Nick Cage.
Okay.
Um, just a coincidence. But these robbers
Hmm.
are fucking close talkers, dude. Or maybe no, I didn't bring this up on another Nick Cage movie. This came up when we were reviewing the Punisher show.
Oh man, that's so
Remember on
funny.
Screen Heroes when I said
Yeah.
Madani is always like really close to people? Dude, these guys, as close as she got in that show, these guys are closer. Ben Mendelsohn's mouth is literally on people's faces through probably 60% of this movie. His lips are touching them while he's talking and spitting all over them. And it's not just him. Some of the other guys, like the the big bruiser guy,
Ty, I
his mouth
think.
gets close. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It doesn't add anything to the movie or make the characters more developed. It's just gross and uncomfortable. And maybe it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. I
Well,
don't know.
I think that's the bit of it, especially with Ben Mendelsohn's character. So first off, I'm a really big fan of Ben Mendelsohn. And I thought he was really good in this movie. His character is a nutcase, but I thought he was really good, and I think he really sold how like, over his skis he was in this because this is not what he's supposed to be doing. This is not what he wants to be doing or anything like that. And he just feels incredibly desperate. And the playbook's been, thrown out and he's just trying to salvage this night and get out of it alive. And yeah, I mean, the more intense things get, the closer he gets
Yeah,
to everybody's face. But I'm okay with it because of how good he is. So
I'm not. As good as he
no,
is, it's just it bothers me.
I don't know. I guess to me, the closer you get, the more deranged it feels. And I think that's what it was trying to depict.
It doesn't really feel deranged to me. It feels like you
No,
just don't have any kind of like you don't know societal rules or standards or
no bubble.
yeah, you don't yeah. I don't know. It didn't make him any scarier or more deranged. I'm not scared of somebody if they're talking to me right here like this.
I mean, I
I
would think though, if you're talking to a person and you can talk to them 3 feet away or 3 inches away, I would imagine the 3 inches away version would make you more uneasy.
it would make me not it would make me angry.
Yeah, but I think if this person has a gun
Oh, I would be
and
scared of the
your hand
gun
is broken,
regardless of how
and
far as he is from my face. I don't think that would make me more
no, it
scared.
doesn't make you more uneasy the closer that
No.
person gets to your face. Okay,
If they have a gun, I'm uneasy already.
sure,
The
but
gun makes me uneasy, not them spitting all over my face because they're
it's a
3 feet
spectrum.
away.
You can get
I
more
think
uneasy.
there is a spectrum there, but I don't think I would be any more uneasy. I just want him to get away from me because it's gross.
Fair
Like
enough.
COVID's a thing, people. Social
It wasn't in
distancing.
2011.
Come on now.
They had no idea what was coming, Ryan.
I know.
They didn't know.
Um, So the daughter comes home. She left the
Unfortunately.
party,
Yeah.
and she yells something like "Mom" or something like that. And then the robbers go nuts, absolutely ape shit, trying to chase her down, right? And then she literally takes out one of the robbers by pushing a thing of like five bamboo shoots onto him.
Jonah, yeah, the pool boy guy.
Yeah, there's like five, I don't know, 10 foot tall bamboo shoots in a big
Vase.
vase,
Yeah.
and she pushes them over onto this guy, and it just takes him out. He's done. Not for the rest of the movie, but immediately she can get away from him because of that.
I think it's funny that this house is so massive. This is a giant compound, but there's only one way in and out of the house.
Yeah, I mean, good planning for
Like I
security reasons.
I grew up in a relatively normal house. I was on the second floor though, and we did have like if there was a fire, I wasn't going through the whole house and down the stairs. There was a plan for me to go out my window. So what is there no plan in place for her to escape through her
Here's the
room?
deal. The movie Panic Room came out in 2002. Okay.
Yeah.
They should know by this movie that every rich person, because that was a trend. After that movie came out, people started building panic rooms.
I mean, maybe that was the unfinished part of the house.
Oh, come on. Give me a break. This is 10 years after Panic Room, almost. Like, come on. Like, get out of here. Anyway, um, yeah, so one of the Ben Mendelsohn, I think, takes Natalie Portman, Nicole Kidman out to the kitchen, and he's
Mhm.
like, "You got to convince your husband." And he's again doing the close talking thing, but it seems more rapey here,
Very bad. Yeah, that was
very
not
sexual
good.
assaulty,
Not
and he's
good.
like rubbing up on her butt, like he's like, I thought he was gonna rape her
Well,
here
especially
because we
because
didn't
like
know at this point that his brother had the thing with her, other than like the glance.
it was bad. It was just bad across the board. I did not care for that. That type of stuff I don't like that stuff because like that has nothing to do with the rest of the plot of the
It
movie.
doesn't
They're
add anything.
no.
It just
It
makes
just
you it establishes the guy as a skis bag, which
right,
great.
which like okay, fine, but the truth is I prefer a more layered villain. And this is a guy is in a position he doesn't really want to be in and we learn later was being set up. So why do you need to make him more unlikable?
Right. It
Because
yeah.
you could let me kind of feel a little bad for the guy.
And there's another kind of weird rapey sexual scene later too. It's just this isn't the only one.
No.
This is probably the worst of the two, but neither
Yeah.
is good. But while he's like grinding up on her, oh, so earlier when they were trying to convince Nick Cage to open the safe, this guy pulls out a syringe and is like, "If I inject you with a third of this, then you'll be paralyzed." It reminded me of the what was the one with all the animals on the ship?
Primal.
Primal. It reminded me of
Yeah.
that because remember they had that blow dart thing that
Right.
would
His blow
when you got hit
darts.
with that it would make you paralyzed, but you were fully conscious and aware of what was happening. That was
Yeah.
basically what was in this needle. Maybe we need to add that to the board. Random drug that paralyzes you, but you can still tell what's going on.
But you can still tell
Um,
what's going on. Yeah, it was
uh,
called suxamethone
yeah, that's exactly
suxamethonium.
how
I don't
you
know.
pronounce that too.
I
So
have no idea.
you nailed it, Derek.
It's a paralytic agent, but it is not an anesthetic.
Right. So you can watch pieces of your own meat being chopped off, which they threaten multiple times in this movie. While you're still alive. But anyway, they threaten him with it and they don't end up using it. Well, she ends up stealing it out of the guy's pocket while he's groping her or whatever is going on there, and hiding it in her pocket. And somehow he doesn't notice because apparently she's a professional pickpocket.
Right? Like, look, I'm not saying that I can't be pickpocketed, but like, I feel like you'd have to know how to do that for
I'm
me not to
sure maybe he
notice.
was so distracted because he was like doing
Yes.
things that are inappropriate to notice that that was coming out of his pocket. Um, so they're still getting frustrated with Nick Cage, and the guy, one of the big guy, tells him to put his hand out, and then just punches it as hard as he can, and just obliterates Nick Cage's hand, which was an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know why you would do that, and cripple the person that's supposed to be opening the safe for you, but that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That stuff always is confusing to me. I mean, maybe that tactic works, but I would imagine it just distracts the person with all of this pain and everything like
Right.
that moving
They're not
forward,
gonna they're more likely to lie to you because they're in so much pain they just want to get away from you,
right? Like, I
you
don't
know.
know.
Um, so yeah, at this point, after that happens, he is obviously in a ton of pain, and he tells the robbers that he's broke and that he's been faking being rich. He's in debt, and he's just trying to make deals to get out of it, essentially. Um, and because they got him to open the safe, and it's empty.
Right, like straight up empty, empty.
And so they're trying to figure out where the diamonds are because they when they were scoping him out, saw him with a bunch of money, saw him with a bunch of diamonds, and none of it is in the safe.
Hmm.
Um, they find a bunch of papers that show registration for diamonds, and I think those are the papers he didn't want his wife to see earlier. But
Yeah, because I think it's
why?
about because it
I
shows
mean,
that he doesn't have any of it. That it's
oh
not his. Because she's an architect. She's very intelligent, right? She knows what's going on. So if she were to see that paperwork, then she would realize that like this is not what he said he was doing.
yeah,
He's not selling diamonds. He's like a middleman trying to hawk other people's diamonds, and he doesn't actually have anything. There's no assets. Yada yada yada.
yeah. Um, and at this point, they have the daughter in there with them,
Hmm.
and they're freaking out, right? They're going around the house just trying to find anything they can to steal and make money on. And I think the woman finds a necklace. So one of them finds a necklace that looks like it has a bunch of diamonds in it.
Yeah.
And when he says he's broke, they don't believe him. And he said, "No, those are all cubic zirconia." When they show him the necklace, and he's like, diamonds are the hardest substance in the world. Cubic zirconia will just shatter and break if you try and hit it with something. So go ahead and you'll see. And so they hit it with the barrel or the butt of the gun, and it shatters. But fun fact, if you know anything about diamonds, they are the hardest material in the world, but they are very brittle. And so I'm pretty sure you could smash diamonds just like with a metal hammer if you
Yeah, I
really
mean,
wanted to.
you certainly could, but there's a different problem here. The real problem here is the existence of that necklace does not then prove that he has a bunch of cash and other diamonds hidden
Right.
somewhere in the house. It just proves that at one point in time he bought a necklace,
A
right? That
fake diamond
may or
necklace.
may not be real. Right. Yeah.
Right. That's
So
true.
he could have just, yeah, they could have just stolen whatever they saw around the house that looked expensive.
Chances are it's not going to add up to 180 grand though, which I think was the
No,
problem.
right, but I just thought it was a leap,
Right.
to be like, well, he has this, so he must be hiding all this in the house somewhere. I don't know that those two things connect.
Yeah, I agree. It's a weird thing. But of course when they're trying to figure out what to do when they're talking about killing these people, the daughter brings up the fact that she knows where they can get 200. I thought she said $200,000, but the guy said $100,000 earlier in the movie, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't
thought
know.
I maybe I just heard him wrong or something like that. But the bad guys need 180 grand.
Yeah. And so she
So
tells him where she knows where to get them and that it would be easy to get and whatever. And so uh she's the of course they let her go and they send the woman with her, the woman robber.
who, for
uh
some reason, the two of them have to get undressed in the same room together.
yes, and also there's a Porsche mention number 3 somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly what the context was. It was mostly all these things were mostly just talking about how nice of a car Porsches are.
Well, because they're gonna take the Porsche.
Right, they take the Porsche, yeah.
Yeah.
But also I think they were implying that they were trying to make this woman look like she's a teenager so that she fits in at the party, but
I guess.
I wasn't really buying it. Um,
Yeah. No.
Also throughout, like in that like kind of rapey scene we were talking about earlier with Ben Mendelsohn, he takes his mask off for that, and kind of throughout this movie, they just kind of randomly take their masks off around different people, and there's not
Well,
really much discretion.
no, well, the thing is, Elias, like, he has his mask off in front of everybody at
Yeah,
some point. So it's like, just forget it. It's a,
that's what my next note was. Why even wear masks at this point?
no, yeah, it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Especially because the plan was to kill everybody anyway.
Yeah. And then when they get in the Porsche, the woman and the daughter, and immediately the woman starts smoking meth next to the daughter.
Always a good thing to do
I
when you're
think
under the
it's
fire.
meth. I don't really know my drugs, so if you watch this movie and it wasn't meth, hit Derek up on Blue Sky and let him know, or whatever wherever platform we're using now. Um, let him know what drug it was so that I don't make that mistake again.
Mhm.
Um, it's some sort of drug that uses a glass pipe. I don't know. But yeah, she immediately starts
Crack?
doing
I
that
don't know.
drug. Could be, I guess. I don't know. But she immediately starts doing that drug right next to the underage daughter. And then we get an etymology lesson about diamonds from Nick Cage
We're
in
just
the
learning
middle
a
of a
lot.
robbery.
We're learning a lot.
In the
He's
middle of the robbery, he's like, "Do you know where the word diamond comes from?" And they're like, "Why
and
the
Ben
fuck
Mendelsohn's
does
going,
that
no,
matter?"
please tell me.
Yeah, he's like, "I need to know. I'm gonna have a test after this." Like, what is even happening?
Oh man.
But Nick ends up Oh, so at some point in here, the I think it happened earlier. Nicole Kidman pulls that syringe out that she had stolen earlier and holds it to one of the guy's necks,
To Elias's Ben Mendelsohn's
but
neck.
doesn't actually use it.
No.
Why would she, you know?
I mean, I assume she doesn't want to kill anybody.
She doesn't have to use the whole thing. They already
Well,
said that
I don't think she really knows necessarily what it
she
is.
could
I
be
mean,
like John Wick and like hit the guy with like a third of it and then throw another one. Like, I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, no one's quite sure what's in that syringe except for maybe Ty.
Yeah, true. And there's also this weird thing, right? So throughout, we haven't really covered it much because it's not really a plot that goes anywhere. But the plot with I mean, it does later, I guess. But the guy that it's implied they slept together, the
Yeah,
brother,
Jonah and Sarah. Yeah.
there's some weird looks and weird moments throughout this movie that almost made me think that she was in on it. Did you get that vibe at all?
Well, that's the thing. So the movie tries to tell like three different versions of the same story, and this is why I don't like the movie. It is not clever to lie to the audience and then be like, "Oh, look, we tricked you." Like that's not clever because
Right.
that's all we have is whatever you're telling us, right? So for me, it was just they show certain scenes in a certain order and then
And I know
change.
this is a pet peeve of yours because we've gone over this on a couple
Yeah.
other movies.
So yeah, so I thought very clearly then at one point or another that she did sleep with this guy. I never thought she was in on the robbery, but I did think that she had an affair.
Yeah, I thought that when she slept with this guy that he had told her about what was going on and that they got her in on it so that she could keep her husband from dying if she could convince him to like just let to open the safe or whatever for him. That ended up being way off, and that's fine. But this movie had so many stupid plot points that I was like, that would just not, whatever.
Well, it just seemed to complicate things so much, right? Because also in the briefcase was the security camera photo of Nicole Kidman with Sarah with Jonah, where he
Yeah,
kisses
kissing
her.
him.
We find out later that he kisses her and she doesn't want him to, but we didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, but the photo made it look very clear, like they were both into it. Yeah,
Right. Which, I mean, I know it's 2011 and all, but I got to imagine a security system for a house like that had video.
right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I agree. So Nick ends up getting the syringe. I don't remember exactly how, but he ends up stabbing the big guy with it and injecting him with the whole thing, which is supposed to be enough to kill a person.
He does not inject him with the whole thing.
Oh, he doesn't?
No, that's the so yeah. So what ends up happening is they end up fighting with each other. There's a physical confrontation, and Ty is going to kill Nick with the syringe, and somehow, even with a broken hand and being half the size of this Ty guy, he manages to fight this and sticks Ty with his own needle.
Yeah,
But when he falls, then the needle lands on the ground. You see that there's still like maybe a third of it left.
gotcha.
And so like that to me was very telegraphed of okay, so he's getting up
He's going to come
at a
back.
very pinnacle
Well, I
moment
thought just
later.
because he was a big guy, he was going to come because
uh
it would kill like somebody maybe Nick Cage's size, but
right,
maybe a bigger guy it would. Like you have to use a different size need or dosage for like a bear than you do
right. Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, after that Nick grabs a chair and throws it through a window to set off the alarm.
Yeah.
Um and the alarm company calls no less than like 10 times. and
It
no
is so
answer.
bad, man.
And they don't send anybody out right away.
It it is the worst security company on the planet.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's super bad. I mean,
Yeah,
my old security company did a better job. Like I had a sensor fall off, like just fall off a window once, like the adhesive came off, and they sent out people. Like that's what you're
right.
supposed to do. That's their job is to
Yeah,
send
if
people
somebody
out.
doesn't respond to the phone call, you're supposed to send out either an officer or whatever right away.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah,
It's crazy to me how long they let this happen, right? And they've already dispatched the police, and the security people are like, well, we don't want the daughter to get in trouble with her parents, so we're just gonna bypass policy. What?
right. Yeah, it's I think I have that note later that it's the literally the worst alarm company that you could possibly imagine.
I mean, if I'm the Miller family, I am suing that company into the
Oh yeah,
ground,
big time.
right?
Um
Ridiculous. So
so I
bad.
think at this point the drug lady and the daughter haven't quite left yet because my next note is that she starts fingering Nick's mouth.
I thought that
She
was, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
I don't know why,
That's out of
but
order then. Yeah, because you had already talked about the car ride.
no, I said that they were getting ready and that
I thought,
they referenced the Porsche, but they haven't gotten into it yet.
well, you were talking about how she was smoking crack in the car, but
Oh, maybe not in the car. Yeah, it was maybe in the room when they were getting
maybe.
dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they shoot Nick Cage in the leg
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn.
in the inner
Thigh.
thigh, which is where I believe your femoral artery is.
It's the worst place to do that. Like he could straight up bleed out and just pass out
In
any.
like 4 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it takes like no time. And he's saved, luckily, by Nicole Kidman walking over and tying a tie around it. Which I don't think you could put enough pressure on directly on the wound to stop it from bleeding. You'd have to probably do a tourniquet. And again, I'm not an EMT or paramedic or anything like that. Just my Boy Scout first aid training would tell me that you would tie a tourniquet to stop the blood flow, which means they might lose the leg, but they'd be
probably.
alive.
Right.
But
But keep in mind,
you would pinch off that artery is what the goal is.
several minutes have gone by though. So like he's
Before
already
that
like,
even happens, yeah.
yeah, he's like almost passed out, and Ben Mendelsohn's had to like slap him awake kind of thing.
But he's
Which
basically almost passed out through the entire rest of this movie,
yeah,
somehow.
which by the way, it is a pet peeve of mine when you've captured somebody and you injure them in a way that's going to make them unconscious, and then you complain that they're passing out.
Right.
You
Yeah,
don't get
it's
to do
silly.
both. Pick one.
It's silly.
You know?
And I want to be 100% clear that that tie was not tight enough to be able to be a tourniquet. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
He would not be able to probably move that leg if it was tight enough to be a tourniquet that high up on his thigh. Anyway,
Like he's gonna get shot more. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get into all that. Um, my next note is they literally have their mouths on each other because I think so. We haven't really touched on it, but every time uh
God, that's
Nicole
funny.
Kidman gets threatened by somebody that they're going to kill her, this guy that was the security guard that they
Jonah
implied boned her uh is like rushing over and trying to beat him up. He's
loses
clearly
his
not the person you
mind.
would want to bring on this, but yeah, he's so obsessed with her that that yeah, it's such a detriment. But at some point he and his brother are talking about it, and Ben Mendelsohn literally his mouth like gumming, like you could probably feel his teeth on his face,
It was
because
so weird.
the mouth was as close as it was on everybody else. It was closer on
Hmm.
this dude.
Hmm.
And why, to your point about you're trying to intimidate or whatever, he's doing that to his brother. He's trying to intimidate his
No,
brother.
that scene I don't have an explanation for.
Right? I think the explanation was that Ben Mendelsohn just wanted to put his mouth all over people.
Oh God.
Maybe that's just the kind of guy he is. I don't know, and I don't fault him for that. But please don't talk to me if that's what you want to do. I'm not into that. But it was
All right, so
very
you can
uncomfortable.
meet Ben Mendelsohn, get his autograph for free, but that's how he's gonna talk to
No,
you.
I'll let you go get the autograph, and you can be friends with him and talk to him and have the open mouth discussion.
I mean, I bet he has cool stuff to say.
How can you tell what it is when it's like the sound waves are just hitting your cheek? They have to go in your ear to be able to hear them. Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
man.
so at one point, this is another stupid fucking thing for these guys that were so prepared. At one point, Ben Mendelsohn just swallows a bunch of, or doesn't swallow, just puts a bunch of pills in his mouth and has them in there for a few minutes and then just spits them all over the floor. So that now they have DNA evidence of everything, of him being in the,
I think
house.
they're way past
I
that.
know. And at this point, he's
Okay.
mentally so far gone. I just was
Yeah.
like, how careless are you going to be? Like, at this point, you might as well just shoot yourself in the head because you're going to go to jail forever,
Yeah, I mean,
you
I think at
know?
this point he is convinced that either he's going to escape to Mexico or be killed.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think he sees an in between there.
I think with his close talking, they'd really like him in jail. So yeah, the eventually the alarm company does dispatch somebody, and they say that's their policy to dispatch somebody. But why wasn't it their policy before? I don't know. The whole thing, like, why did it take them 30 minutes to get there? Again, maybe not the best choice of alarm company,
Well,
but
and by the way, they're dispatching a single security guard by
yeah,
themselves, not police, nobody with a partner, one single dude to a house that they have not gotten a legitimate answer from and have no idea what the real situation is.
right, yeah, and immediately Ben Mendelsohn murders him.
No, no. So
Oh,
Ben's trying to talk the guy into leaving,
oh, and then the
but
other guy comes up behind him and murders him. Yeah,
yeah, Jonah just shoots him from behind Ben Mendelsohn's
right.
character
That's what happens. Yeah,
and talks about how Ben's off his rocker because his face is covered in blood and stuff like that.
and
Because
I
so
did
clearly,
consider that casual murder, so
oh yeah,
that was
oh
another
yeah,
space on the board.
these guys are just unraveling in this movie. I think that's really what this is about. Is just watching these guys unravel.
Yeah. So yeah, then the girls head out to go rob the party people. Um
So I have a question about that for you.
yeah.
Do you think that Avery ever actually intended to go to the house?
Yes.
You do think that she was being legit, she was going to go, and then
Yeah.
changed her mind during the drive?
Yes, because
Okay.
the way that woman was talking to her and talking about her family, and then she saw that turn coming up, I think that that was just the decision.
Okay.
Um, so this is the other kind of rapey scene when the pool boy guy
Mm,
um pulls Nicole Kidman's character to the side and is like again rubbing up on her and is telling her that he can get her out of there. He'll get her safe. They'll have a bunch of money and go to Mexico or whatever. And he is just like as close as Ben Mendelsohn was earlier. He is all over. She keeps saying no, and that she loves her husband. No, 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 and he still just keeps going. It's very uncomfortable.
hmm.
And eventually Ben Mendelsohn comes around and sees what's going on and is obviously not happy about it, but doesn't really, I don't think he ended up actually doing anything about it. Just a discussion with his brother.
Yeah, because I think he's starting to realize like maybe the extent of what his brother's mental state is. Like he already
Yeah.
knows his brother's not doing well, and it's just again everything is just spiraling.
Yeah. So then it cuts back to the daughter in the Porsche with the woman, and she hits that curve that the girl hit in the beginning of the movie and smashes into a pole or something.
Yeah, that's like a
And
telephone pole.
somehow, so they show that the daughter unhooks the seatbelt of the woman as they're getting ready to hit this thing. But somehow the woman's, even though this is a convertible Porsche, stays in the car, doesn't fly out of the car,
Hmm.
and lives.
Was she alive?
I mean, I'm pretty sure she said something. I mean, we don't see her die, I guess I should say.
Fair
But I
enough.
think she said something to the girl after the wreck. And the here's the thing about car wrecks. Just because you have your seatbelt on doesn't mean you just walk away and you're magically okay. But somehow the daughter is okay, even after this high speed collision. And yes, she did wreck it on the side where the woman was sitting. But guess what? You're like less than a foot away from that person, so that doesn't really help that much. Your neck is going to be fucked. Your back's going to be fucked. Like the airbag's going to go off and mess up your face. A bunch of stuff is going to happen,
No,
but it doesn't
I'm
happen.
certainly I'm with you there. I mean, her like forehead has like a little cut on it or
Yeah,
whatever, but
but she's perfectly fine. Other than
yeah, and
that,
I don't think like you don't see any airbags or anything
no.
deployed either. Like this is a modern Porsche.
Yeah, like a 2012,
Yeah, it's not like
whatever.
they were driving like something from like the 50s, there should
Right, it
have been
has airbags.
airbags.
Yeah, my note was, how did she stay in car? Impossible to know, but you know,
I
I
mean, it's
guess
that
they wanted the
sophisticated.
Porsche to look safe.
Yeah, it's the
The agreement,
sophisticated Porsche design.
the agreement was that you can wreck the Porsche as long as everybody inside doesn't die, and they look like they might have survived. I don't know.
I mean, I
Um,
didn't really take like a great look, but according to IMDb, like the windshield was also fine, which probably would have sustained some damage given the
oh, that's
speed at
on
which it hit.
IMDb. All that is.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I'm glad we weren't the only one that noticed that. My next note is just shot his own guy. I'm assuming that's talking about one of the
Yeah.
brothers.
Yeah. So Ty gets back up, right? And Ty is like trying to like attack Nicole Kidman's character, Sarah. And Jonah loses his mind and shoots Ty in the back a few times, at least twice. I don't really remember how many.
Yeah,
And that's when there's this big reveal moment because Ben Mendelsohn shows up and there's this big reveal that his brother is actually like framing Ben Mendelsohn's character and it's all like a con with Ty's boss and all this other stuff to
yeah,
steal the drugs back.
which doesn't go anywhere really.
It doesn't really go anywhere at all.
No.
Because I
So
guess
that's a
Ben refuses to believe it, right? And then Ty dies. So,
yeah, yeah. And so they are. I think at some point Nick Cage and Nicole Kidman kind of start to run away, and they get found, but the brother that the pool boy brother finds the big stash of money, which is behind a thing of drywall. Nick Cage is
well,
behind a thing of
that's
drywall.
did we do the what happens to Ben Mendelsohn yet? I feel like we skipped that part.
Oh no, we probably did skip that part because I didn't write anything about it.
Well, because it's ridiculous. So there's a point where Ben's like gonna kill one of them, right? He's just decided that's it. He's gonna kill one of them, and he decides he's gonna kill Sarah, even though his brother, who's a nutcase and has already killed Ty over this, is standing right there. And
Yeah,
so Jonah kills his own brother,
yeah, and that's
right?
the end of that.
That's the end of that. So Ben Mendelsohn's gone. Bye bye.
Yeah, so really the only guy left standing at the end of this is Pool Boy Brother.
That's right.
Yeah, and so he finds the money after a chase.
Yeah, like
And
there's this unfinished part of the house that's under construction, and I guess Nick's been hiding the money in the walls.
yeah, yeah, and so there's kind of a shootout where Nick Cage grabs a nail gun. And I counted that as Nick Cage shoots a gun because technically a nail gun
Okay,
has
that
the word
works.
gun in it.
I had
It
not
doesn't
crossed
change
that, but
anything
that
for me,
works.
but
Yeah.
we have that on our bingo card if you're a first time listener. So I counted that. Um, oh yeah, that was after the nail gun shootout that the brother killed the brother. I did have that on my notes. Brother killed brother.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, uh, Nick, see, they're like getting ready to. He's getting ready to be killed by the
Right.
brother while the brother was going to run away with Nicole Kidman's character, and he notices a bunch of construction chemicals. So I don't really know what they were doing there, but there's a bunch of
Yeah.
flammable chemicals that have just
Turpentine or something,
yeah
maybe. I don't know.
fallen and spilled all over the ground. And what do you know? He just happens to have this guy's lighter in his pocket, so he fishes that out and throws it at the fire or throws it at the turpentine or whatever it is, and it makes a big path of fire and goes and starts burning up the money. And the brother is trying to grab as much as he can, but then Nick Cage nail guns his foot to the floor.
Both feet. That was kind of gross.
Yeah, it was a little gross.
Yeah.
And Nick is shot in the neck, I think.
I don't remember
Or does the
where.
brother get shot in the neck? One of them gets shot in the neck because I have neck shot.
I think the brother gets. I think Jonah gets shot in the neck,
Okay.
but Nick does
And
get
then
shot.
burned alive.
Yeah. Well, he falls into very like bad CGI fire.
It was terrible, really bad. And I get that fire is hard to do in CG, but I mean, don't do
I,
it then. Figure out another
this
way to do it.
this movie did have a $35 million budget, so like it's no Star Wars, but it's also not like a
In
tiny.
2012, 2011, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a big budget. Um, But yeah, he gets burned alive, and then the police show up, and everybody's out of the house. The daughter and Nick and Nicole Kidman, and everybody lives because they tell Nick to hang on, and then he lives,
Do we
even
know that he
though
lives? Do we know?
he's alive at the end of the
He
movie.
is alive at the end of the movie, but
They
it's
make it seem like he's going to make it because the ambulance and the police are there,
mm,
and he's only lost half of his blood out of his leg because of
he's been
her.
shot at least 3 times.
Yeah,
Got a broken
um,
hand.
broken hand. Yeah, but somehow he's hanging on. But yeah, then Joel Schumacher's name popped up at the end, and that's why I had Joel Schumacher
Yeah.
on my thing, and it said "Everybody Lives" was my last note. So that's it. That's the movie.
But the house burns to the ground and all the money with it.
Yeah, but he has insurance. So
Yeah. So maybe it all works out.
I mean, they keep mentioning that, and the robbers do. They're like, "Well, if we steal all your diamonds, and you can just file for insurance and get your money back, and then we both benefit." It's like I
Well, yeah,
don't
because
think that's really exactly how things work, but
that's the thing. Like, I really feel like Ben Mendelsohn's character Elias just like didn't really know what to do. He
yeah,
was just so like screwed, and he didn't know yet that Jonah and Ty were actually working against him.
yeah.
So it was all just a disaster.
So usually after we do these movies, I'll go on IMDb and look at some of the 10-star reviews and the 1-star reviews, get some polarizing opinions on the movie. On this movie, there's only 3 10-star reviews
Okay.
out of a lot of reviews, good amount. Let's see how many reviews does this one have. 161. 3 of them are 10 stars.
Oof.
Very memorable and artful thriller film. I didn't know what to expect from this film as I didn't see any trailer or promotional stuff. The beginning of the movie was slow, but got interesting when came along. You could tell something was going to happen. Well, in general, a lot of movies, you can guess that something is going to happen. So that's true.
Except in the happening.
Trespass truly is a love-hate movie. It's a groundbreaking, brave, stunning, brutal, and moving piece of work that is guaranteed to divide audiences everywhere. The audience reaction ranged from loved it to hated it, to few people actually going outside the cinema. For me, it was a great work, and I absolutely loved it, but I don't believe that it's a movie anybody will truly enjoy.
They went to see this in theaters.
I guess. I feel
So
like this was like Joel Schumacher's brother or something that wrote this one.
so fun fact, here in the States, it only made 24 grand. It only ran in theaters for 2 weeks.
I'm the way this is written, I think it may be somebody in another country or something
It did
because
make more overseas. It pulled in 10 million in total.
yeah, because the it
So,
seems like it's an English as a second
okay.
language type of review. Um, Cam Gigandet is stunning in Trespass is the title of this one. I think that might be the meth robber because that's really the only other woman.
No, that's Jonah. That's the pool boy
Oh,
guy.
Cam
Yeah.
Gigandet, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the stunning isn't a word off used to describe a man, so
I mean, maybe not by you and me as
yeah, that's true.
heterosexual
Fair enough.
men, but
Trespass is good. The last 60 minutes are much better since I can see more of Cam. Cam's role is indeed the most interesting. His performance is the most captivating and touching. He plays that likable and psychotic bad boy so well. At the end, his being engulfed in flames is painfully disturbing. I almost want to jump into the flames and die with him. He is the
whoa.
one who saves Nicholas and Nicole's lives, but Nicholas ends up killing Cam's character. A better end would be Nicholas not burning his own house and money and let Cam take some of the money and run away. It's against rational storytelling, but I actually like to see Nicole run away with Cam. They are so cute together. I love to see more
What?
shirtless and sexy scenes of Cam and more love scenes of Cam and Nicole.
Oh my God.
That is a really interesting. 17 people have said that review is helpful.
That's a take. That is a take. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
Okay.
say to that.
Um, I don't either. That's one of the most bizarre reviews I've ever read on this podcast, but there you go.
Whew.
Um, 1 out of 10. What was Kidman thinking? I can't imagine Nicole Kidman agreeing to do this movie. I like Nicolas Cage as well, and I can understand why, as mentioned in your trivia, he was unsure of playing either the role of the husband or the robber in this film. He was probably trying to save his reputation, but realized playing either part would be an embarrassment. This is a terrible, terrible movie in every way. The plot is weak and the acting is poor. Throughout the film, we are force-fed gratuitous violence. When choosing to watch a movie that I am unfamiliar with, the actors are usually the deciding factor. After watching this movie, I need to rethink this strategy. Wow.
Yeah, so that's alluding to right before production started. Apparently, Nick wanted to switch roles to play Elias, Ben Mendelsohn's character, and then I guess changed his mind.
What a waste of Kidman and Cage. I can't believe this film was only 91 minutes long. Last night it seemed like 10 hours. No proper story arc. We don't really care about the main characters and grossly incompetent and cruel robbers. How does something like this get made? I'm glad to have read the trivia about its production costs and audience figures. It shows how stupid Hollywood can be and how people have good taste. And the kind of Dumbo businessman that Cage plays would have had a daffy young blonde wife, and his daughter would be from a previous marriage. But the grossly bad taste of their housing and decor rings very true. But then again, the filmmakers probably thought it was wonderful.
I'm not sure what all that meant, but
I don't either. Last one that I'm going to read here. This is one of the worst movies ever. Shoot the director in the head.
yeah, that's
Seems
not
like an
okay.
extreme overreaction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a movie, guys.
The
Like,
movie is not worth a minute of your time. But then you should know that already since it has Nicolas Cage in it. Wow.
well, that's just rude.
That's a rough take.
That's
If
rude.
you want to see a movie where everyone in it is as stupid gets, this would be the movie for you. I can't believe I watched the whole thing and hoped somehow it would get better. What a waste of time. It didn't. I threw it in the trash since I couldn't think of anyone I disliked enough to give it to. I couldn't do that to anyone. I did learn a lesson, though. I never cared for Nicolas Cage movies, but I thought I would give this one a chance since Nicole Kidman is in it, even though she has been in some pretty bad movies. What a mistake. Some
What?
things never change. If Nicolas Cage is in it, it will suck. Do not buy this movie. The worst rating Amazon will allow is 1 star. I would give it 0 if I could. And they signed it with their name, Carrie Stansbury. So Carrie, number one, it's a movie. Don't say people need to be shot in the head over the movie. That's fucking crazy, man. Get real. Two, saying every movie that Nicolas Cage. I mean, granted, you wrote this in 2011. So I want you to go watch Pig and tell me that every Nicolas Cage movie is bad.
Hey, man, he
Okay.
already did Leaving Las Vegas at
He
this
already won an Oscar at this point.
right? Like
But
he had already done some very, very good movies. Moonstruck had already happened at this point. I mean, a lot of iconic films. The Holy Trinity, of course.
yeah,
Like yes, obviously Pig is, I think it's his best work.
for
But
modern movies, it's probably the one that people would relate. I mean, not a lot of people have seen Leaving Las Vegas these days, or if they did, they don't
that's
remember
fair.
it.
Yeah,
Pig would be a more recent one that he was fantastic in, possibly his best movie. And
so good.
yeah. Anyway, that's some of the reviews. So now after we read those, we have to do our own ranking on these. Um,
Yes, we do. So we have our Kage-O-meter. We rank our movies based on overall quality as well as overall caginess. We have a 20-point scale because the dude is in over 120 films, and it helps us not have them all stacked on top of each other. So, quality. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
I think you should go first.
All right. I mean, overall, I may have enjoyed some of the performances a little bit, but I do not really care for this movie. So I'm thinking from a quality standpoint, I'm gonna give it like I'm thinking, let me just double check. Yeah, I'm thinking a 9.
Yeah, I was thinking a 9 as well because it's just very mid
Mm-hmm.
in terms of Nick Cage movies. It's just not. There's nothing that really stands out about this movie to me that makes me go, I can appreciate it. You know.
Yeah, I mean that puts it on par with, let's see, have we given anything else a 9? We've given out some 8s, an 8.5. Let's see. I'm just double checking here. Look, I mean,
I don't know if
Humanity of
we've ever
Hero.
agreed on a 9.
No, Frozen Ground was an 8.5. I think Frozen Ground was better than this.
I don't know. I don't. I think that you're just wanting it to be better than this. It wasn't that good,
No, A Score to Settle, we gave an 8.5. 9.5 was National Treasure Book of Secrets.
which I enjoyed more than this.
And Primal was another 8.5, as
Yeah,
well as Grand
I would
Isle.
think this one is on par with both of those movies.
So there you go. So, okay. So we got a 9 on quality. Now, caginess. To your
It's
earlier
going to be
point,
low. I mean,
there's not a ton. It's a pretty like he plays a pretty like normal guy in this
yeah, there
movie
is
for the
one
most part.
scene in the with the safe time when they're around the safe where he kind of goes into a cagey mode, but it's pretty brief. And
Hmm.
then, I mean, the only thing that I can see is cagey in the rest of the movie is pretty much the way he's acting after he's shot in the leg and he's, got the blood loss thing going where he's like sleeping, like, trying to catch himself. The way he's handled that is a little cagey, but Even that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's going to be low for me. I'm thinking maybe a 4 or 5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to go with a 3
Wow. Okay. Well,
personally.
I'll go with a 4, and then we're pretty close.
Okay. So that gives us a 9 on quality and a 3.5 on caginess. Now we have to figure out what movie is going to replace Trespass on our Wheel O Cage. We spin our Wheel O Cage to determine what movie we watch next. We now have removed Trespass, and joining the wheel in its place is a movie I've never heard of called Between Worlds. I don't
Okay.
recognize that. So Between Worlds has joined the wheel. So to find out which movie we're going to watch next time for episode 70 of the show, you'll have to watch our Wheel O Cage for that. You can find that, all of our links, video versions of the show at comingofcage.com. All of our social media links are there. You can get merch there too, if that's your thing. I even added this shirt here, if you're watching, is on our TeePublic. So you can go get that. Ryan, anything else for Trespass?
No, instead of trespass, just pass on this movie.
That's good. That's good. We'll end on that note. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you next time.